Tim and I are here to talk about braising today. If you think about pot roast, it's a classic braised dish. It's a really simple technique. It's pretty much hands-free once you get the pot going, so you can walk away from it and play with your kids or do your taxes. Braising doesn't require a lot of special equipment. In fact, all you really need to braise are a large pot with a tight-fitting lid, a sharp knife for trimming the meat, a set of tongs to help you turn the meat, and a wooden spoon for deglazing the pan. And we have a pork shoulder here, and you see a lot of fat on it, and Tim's going to illustrate how to trim the roast.
You don't need to go crazy about getting the fat off because you're not going to get it all off, and frankly you don't want to get it all off because there is some good flavor in that fat. So if you can get off a chunk like that, for instance, maybe a little chunk over here too.
So Tim has started browning the meat in our pan, and what we're working with here is about a 6-quart Dutch oven. You want to make sure you have a pan that's large enough to hold all of your ingredients, your meat and any vegetables that are going in there, but also has enough surface area so that once you add liquid to the pan, it doesn't completely submerge all your ingredients. You want your food to cook both in liquid at the bottom and the steam that will be created on top. That really produces the best results.
So we're just browning the meat, which is a key part of the braising process. Because without the meat being brown, you're not going to have the flavor that you want, really. We're just going to add the beer in.
You can braise just in broth, like commercial chicken broth or beef broth, but adding a little alcohol really does enhance the flavor and gives the dish a lot of complexity. Some of our recipes use sherry, some might use wine, and in this case, we're using beer.
A good amount of the alcohol cooks off over time, depending upon how long you're going to cook the dish. In a braised dish that'll go 2 hours or so, you're going to lose a good amount of the alcohol.
We've added the meat back to the pan, and you'll see that the meat is not completely submerged. The liquid only comes about maybe halfway up the meat. So we're going to bring the liquid up to a simmer, and it's important to maintain a simmer, not a boil. A bubble breaking the surface of that liquid maybe every couple of seconds. If you bring the liquid up to a boil, it's going to cook the meat too quickly and cause the proteins to seize, and it may make for tough meat. So maintain a simmer. Once you bring the liquid up to a simmer, we're going to cover the pot. So the meat has cooked for a couple of hours, and Tim's pulled it off onto the cutting board.
And this is actually what we mean by fork tender, is it just comes off and breaks apart with nothing more than just the fork. That's some nice meat.
By following just a few simple steps, we were able to successfully braise. First thing you want to do is make sure you brown the meat for the best flavor. Second thing is to make sure not to completely submerge the meat in liquid. And then the third thing, you want to simmer and cover that pot tightly. My favorite recipe from the story is our Cuban dish, the ropa vieja. What's your favorite?
I love the red cooked short ribs, actually. It's a nice dish.